to the show, The Island Shuffle.
It's the Island Shuffle, and I'm Bean.
And I'm James.
And together, this is the podcast where we watch the television show called Lost. But listen up, because we watch it in a wacky order.
We watch it out of order. Random order. Random.org.
We throw the episodes to the wind and let whichever one lands in our hearts land in this week's episode.
We let widely dependent on the wind.
It's entirely wind dependent.
Yeah.
Which is very, economical, environmentally conscious of us, I think.
Yes.
That's what it means.
The wind is a renewable resource.
Yes, not like the static noise at random.org generates.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That will go away at one point.
That will be depleted someday because of irresponsible podcasters like us.
Don't use random.org. It's running out.
It's running out. We need to preserve the static. Guess what? It's been a minute since we've recorded, you and I. For the folks at home, it's only been like a week apart, but for you and I,
like a month.
It's been almost a month.
Feels good to be back in the horse.
Oh my gosh, the horse never dies.
Get me in the horse's saddle and put a gun in my hands.
That's what I like about horses, is riding one with a gun in my hands also.
You know what my favorite move is with the horse?
What's that?
When you have the gun in your hands.
Yeah.
You're riding really quickly. If you want to get off like super fast,
Yes.
take the gun in your hands, put it to the head of the horse,
No!
and ask the horse to threaten the horse so he stops quickly.
Of course. Yes, that makes sense. Horses
Threaten the horse.
Horses hate to be threatened.
Yeah.
So they will do whatever you tell them to.
They only understand violence, horses.
I mean, that's true. They're inherently violent in their souls.
They speak one language, and it is
threatens.
Yeah, exactly.
You know
Feels
what?
good to be back.
Feels good to be back in the saddle. Back on these microphones, they're like saddles of a horse that has a gun.
They are like the gun.
They're like the gun. These chairs are the horses, and these microphones are the gun.
These microphones are the one gun I will vote for.
Yeah, absolutely. You got that right. Hey, what episode of Lost did we watch this week?
We watched season 3, episode 1,
And it's
titled Would Be Pilot.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Were it not season 3.
Yes, indeed.
Titled A Tale of Two Cities.
It's an episode all about Jack. But I think we should deal with the island stuff first.
Yeah, let's deal with the island stuff because this is very much a setting up things type of episode, it being the first episode of a new season.
What's funny about this episode is that it's the first episode of the Jack, Kate, and Sawyer are stuck in prison arc.
Yeah.
And we've seen every other episode of that arc. So
really? We've seen every single other one.
We've seen everything from this to them escaping.
Wow,
and this is the last one we saw, which is pretty cranked.
Yeah, that is cranked. I sort of wish that isn't how it worked out.
I mean, those are the risks we took when we took on this completely bananas project.
It makes more sense in order.
Yeah, that's one thing you can say about watching it this way. One episode does not lead into the other smoothly.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a good choice.
It's not a very coherent way to watch the show, but also watching it front to back isn't that coherent either.
You know what I liked about this episode?
Mm?
Is that there's very few characters in it.
That's true.
We don't get the ensemble cast whatsoever.
It's true.
It's just Jack, Sawyer, and Kate.
Yeah, and
then the island people. So Ben, Tom, and Juliet.
Yeah.
There's 6 characters.
Exactly, and it's very, you have Jack's story, and that's kind of self-contained. You have Kate's story, and that's kind of self-contained. You have Sawyer's story, and that's kind of self-contained, and it's very tight. It results in a very tightly paced episode. And I love the ensemble of the show, but I do like when they just hunker down and they're just like, what's up with this guy right now?
Yeah, because it's nice to just not be jumping all over the place all the time.
And it makes our jobs a lot easier.
Exactly.
Let's start with Jack, him being the protagonist of the episode.
Jack is in a tank and he's not happy about it.
He's pissed. He walks face first into a pane of glass and he's mad about it. He's yelling, he's hooting, and he's hollering. And
he says, do you know who my father is?
I think there's one scene we should mention before we get into it.
Oh yeah, book club.
Book club. The first scene of the episode, the first scene of the season, stars Juliet.
Yeah.
Juliet's, we've actually seen bits and pieces of this scene before, but we've never seen the full scene. which is Juliet's looking in a mirror. She puts Downtown on, and she listens to it, and she gets... Whoops, I just broke a pen open, which is not a good thing to do to your friend's pen when you're...
Oh, that's okay. I broke that pen the other day.
Oh, okay. It's fine.
I really did. Yeah, you can see the crack right here.
Wow. Look at that crack.
Yeah. Look at that crack.
Folks at home, I hope you're looking at that crack.
Put it up to the microphone. Let's see if they can listen to the crack. Crick, crick.
Crick, crick.
Cricket.
Cricket.
Love that game.
The game of cricket?
The game of cricket.
I don't know the game of cricket.
You get your blokes together and you whack the old stick.
The ball and
paddle.
Rounds and some innings a thing.
I don't know.
I looked up the rules of cricket once and I was like, this actually makes sense. And then
baseball.
and then an hour passed by and I forgot it all.
Yeah. It's weird. It's a weird game. But, you know, I endorse it wholeheartely.
Most sports are pretty weird.
Yeah.
Ball going hoop. Who says who? That's what I say. So.
I like that. Whimsical.
Hey, we're just chock full of whimsy on this show, aren't we? We're lifted with whimsy.
So they're in a book club. It's not going well.
It's not going well. Juliet burned her muffins in the oven. And someone's working on her plumbing, and she's just like, "Oh my gosh!"
Those both sound like insane innuendos. Juliet burned her muffins, and someone's working on her plumbing, and she's like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
it's weird.
It's not great, but that's literally what actually happened. It's not some weird innuendo. I'm not trying to be a sly, winky fool. That's really genuinely shot for shot what happened.
That's funny.
This is all set in those yellow houses.
Yeah.
The barracks, as they're known.
The barracks.
The yellow houses that the others live in for a while, that the gang lives in past Dharma times. The famous yellow houses that are a key setting of the show. This is their first canonical appearance in the show.
Really? I didn't know that.
It is indeed. And so Juliet's having a book club, and there's this guy there who's just like, I fucking hated this book. This book is useless. It's hokum pokum. It's science fiction. It's just garbage. And Juliet's like, hey, fuck you too. It's an intense book club.
It's the worst book club I've ever seen.
It's truly cranked. I cannot imagine doing like a project like that and coming in just like, and even if you didn't like a thing, coming in just like, fuck this and fuck you too.
Fuck this and yeah, exactly, exactly.
Way too
hard.
And
Juliet's response is like perfect and like elevates the situation too, where she's like, "Oh, sorry, I thought that free will was still a thing around here." And it's like, you guys, it's book club.
It's book club.
Chill the fuck out. This is book club.
You guys are the antagonists stranded on an island.
Yeah.
This is the one time of the week where you have to just chill and enjoy Stephen King's Carrie. Why would you ruin it with your petty bullshit?
Yell?
Why do you gotta yell? Anyways, more important things come along as rumble, rumble, rumble. Do. What the heck's going on? They all storm out. And Juliet storms out, and Ethan storms out. Ethan Rom, and guess who else comes out? It's Ben too.
Benjamin Linus.
Benjamin Linus. He's wearing like a pinstripe collared shirt tucked into beige pants, and he looks like a fucking dweebus.
Yeah, he looks like a dweebus. That's the perfect name for it.
And he comes out, and they look in the sky, and guess what's up in the sky? Oceanic Flight 815. It's crashing, baby. And Ben does the classic, Goodwin, go to the tail section. Ethan, go to the fuselage. You're both survivors. Give me some names in 3 days. Go, go, go. And then he walks up to Juliet, who's holding a copy of Carrie, and says, well, I guess I'm out of the book club.
The show Lost has commenced. The letters are coming. Let's get the theme song.
The theme of Lost, as we all know, goes like that.
Welcome to Lost.
It's an island.
I wish they could have done a bit more with that. The worst part of Lost, and there's a lot of bad parts to choose from, might be the intro. I don't like it.
The intro is, at the time I remember thinking the intro was very unique because it's just like, it's like 5 seconds long. It wastes no time. It's just like Lost, and it's that like ominous sound that is very that feels very like of Lost.
I wish they chose a better font or something.
Exactly, right? It feels like, I think for the time it was a very cool and bold decision. It doesn't hold up super well to present day, especially because my favorite part of it is that like, so if you've never seen it, it's literally just the word Lost in the basic Lost font, like fading in from the void and then just like floating past the camera while like an ominous sound plays. 5 seconds long, boom. And when it like flies through the camera, you can see like the shitty CG.
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing.
It looks like
it
fucking,
is shitty.
It looks
CG.
like a Nintendo 64 game when it zooms in that close. It's like, I love it, but like also, yo,
it is tough.
Y'all managed to convincingly make a plane crash happen in the sky, but you couldn't make a word flow through the void.
Yeah.
So like, what's going on here?
It's sad.
It is
really sad.
It is deeply upsetting.
It's really sad.
It's very sad. So first scene of the season, classic first scene of a Lost season, where it's just like, here's a thing that you thought was a normal thing, but turns out it's twisted. Whoa. You thought this was a regular book club.
Not even book club is safe from this show and its tyranny.
You thought it was a regular book club, but then a plane crash. Blah, blah, blah. So, Jack is hanging out. He's pissed in a cage. He's pissed off. And
He's pissed in a cage. I am going to predict right now you're going to get like 7 or 8 bizarre innuendos this whole episode. Or just that where you mean it one way and it's so easy to imagine another. He's pissed in a cage is definitely one.
What would the innuendo there be? It makes the only one.
Well, it just sounds like you're saying he's urinating in a cage.
I interpret it as like he's like in the drunk tank.
Yeah,
like that's another interpretation.
Oh yeah.
Like
oh yeah. So there's a lot of subtlety here with our language.
Language is a complicated business.
We need to be careful because the listeners can take these words out of our mouths and
they
put
can
them in their own.
They can just snip out whatever they want and make it seem like we're nothing but fools.
I find our listeners are very untrustworthy too.
That's true. If there's one thing about our fan base, is it's notoriously swindling.
Yeah, I would describe them as conniving also.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So Jack is, despite all his rage, Jack is still just pissed in a cage.
Perfect.
And in comes a lady named Juliet, and she says, "Hey, I'm Juliet. I'm here." And Jack is
This is their first meeting, right?
This is their first meeting. This is also Juliet's first time being on Lost. It's
really?
Yeah. Oh. And she does a bang-up job, as we'll get into.
She does a bang-up job on Sawyer.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So Jack is just like yanking chains that are dangling from the ceiling.
Another one.
That's already a thing. Stop yanking. You're not yanking my chain. That's already an idiom. That's
exactly.
Like,
no, exactly. That's what I meant, though.
I guess.
Where it's like just these, I don't know, these things that you mean entirely literally that like it's very plausible or not.
I really wish Jack was yanking my chain.
Yeah,
here,
I know.
But he's literally yanking chains that are dangling from the ceiling. He's like
he does yank chains later in the cage though.
That's true.
In the other sense.
And he's just like climbing on them, and Juliet's like talking at him like, "Hey, my name's Juliet. How are you doing? I'm here to feed you. And could you please come down from the chains? Why are you doing this?" And Jack is just like completely ignoring him.
Jack is a bit of a bad boy in the cage.
Jack is a bad boy in the cage.
He's mad. He's mad at them. And he lies.
He lies. Well, first what he does is he screams, "Who are you? Tell me where my friends are!" at Juliet. And Juliet throughout this whole episode is very just like calm and just like he's very like the like good cop, more or less. She's very just like, "I'm just here to feed you. I just want to help. I know it seems like, you can trust me, Jack. Please, just I want to feed you." And Jack is just like, I woke up in a cage and I'm angry.
Yeah.
And that's
which I get it.
It's fair, absolutely.
It's a bit generic, but I understand.
So yeah, eventually Jack is just kind of like furiously pacing back and forth, and Juliet's like, "Who are you, Jack? What's your deal?" Jack lies, as you mentioned. Jack is like, "I'm a repo man. Whatever. I do this. I'm not married. Whatever. I don't care." And he's just making shit up.
Your repo man impression is really great.
That's what repo men sound like.
Defined by their ambivalence.
Repo men do not give
I don't fucking care.
Repo men don't give a shit.
Whatever.
What the hell ever? I'm in a cage, but I'm a repo man, so I'm just gonna roll with the punches because life
gives you lemons.
Make a lemonade.
Yeah, when life gives you lemons, don't pay your lemon bill and then have someone come and take the lemons away.
That's true. Absolutely. That's just the philosophy of Jack the Repo Man. Eventually Juliet's kind of like gives Jack the real skinny of like, hey, you're probably dehydrated. You need to eat this food. I'm not asking a lot of you. I just want you to put your back against the door so I can come in, leave the sandwich and water, and get out. And that's all I want to do. And Jack gives him a little, oh, so you're a doctor then. And Juliet does the little smirky thing and says, no, I'm no doctor. I'm a repo woman. It's a good like, hey, I'm another and I know all my shit, but you know what? I'm having fun.
Yeah, she's still a cool lady.
She's still a cool lady. Juliet's very cool in this episode.
Yeah, I like Juliet. She's lit.
She's very lit. Julie lit.
Juliet.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think of Julie lit?
Julie lit. No.
No? Disagree? No. Fair.
Juliet. I don't like the sound of that.
I don't think this may have been a mistake.
Uh-huh.
This may have been one of our greatest errors.
It might have been. Let's move on.
What do you say we just leave that in the past where it belongs? So Juliet comes in and is like, all right, here's the sandwich. But Jack gets the drop on Juliet and gives her the old strangle, bashes the plate, uses a plate shard and holds it against Juliet's throat and grabs her and drags her out of the cage. And who's standing there but Benjamin Linus, the antagonist. He's looking just as dweebusy as ever,
the mean guy.
And Jack is standing next to a door and is like, if you don't let me open this door, I'm gonna kill Juliet. Ben says, fine, if you open that door, we're all dead anyway, which is great.
Crazy.
So Jack throws Juliet aside, opens this door, and guess what the door is?
Water door.
Water door.
It's a water door. It's a door of water.
It's a door full of water.
Only water comes out of it.
Only water comes out.
And it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. The room starts flooding, and Juliet quickly, like the two of them, Juliet and Jack, quickly get their shit together. They like swim over. They manage to close the door somehow. The door
literally impossible. Two people could not close that door.
But you know what? These two people did it
because they're like in the ocean.
Yeah.
It is. How big would that door be? Like 7 feet tall, 3 feet wide.
It is a big door because it has to keep all the water out.
Yeah.
And now there's water endlessly coming in from it. I don't know.
At an enormous force.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But they do it.
They close it.
They close it, and then Juliet conks Jack out, locks him back up, and then next scene, it's fine. There's no more water
they're
anywhere.
Chill. They're like, all right, that happened.
That's fine.
Yeah, forgive and forget. You
know? Jack and
which I sort of can appreciate that to an extent, where it's like, you tried to kill me. I'm keeping you prisoner. Yeah. All right. There's a little.
Yeah, exactly.
Give a little, get a little. You know?
Exactly. You know, I agree. Juliet and Jack back in the cage. Jack wakes up and is kind of like a lot more calm now.
Yeah.
A lot more like, all right, so
he got it out of his system.
He got it.
Murder attempt because he doesn't really have murder in his heart.
Yeah, he spends a lot of the episode being like angry, pacing back and forth.
Might have murder in his lungs or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, some murder might have gotten in his lungs when all the flooding happened. Maybe that was murder water.
It was murder water. Well, that's what Ben and Juliet's were seeming to indicate. They said, "You open that door, we all die."
Murder water. So they're John and Jack's just kind of like, all right, so this station's underwater, I guess. What is this? Must be some old Dharma station. Juliet's like, yeah, they called it the Hydra. They did weird shit to animals here. I don't really know. And Jack's kind of like, oh, you guys must be leftover Dharma folks. And Juliet's like, well, not really. And Juliet opens this huge file.
Huge, like 600 pages.
Here's a moment that I want to talk about. Jack is like, so you guys are from the Dharma Initiative, and Juliet says, you know what? Who we were doesn't really matter anymore. What matters is who we are. Anyway, here's a 600-page long file about your entire past.
Who you were.
About who you were. You were, and he does the classic other things of like, oh, you graduated from St. Sebastian. You were a year ahead. You married and divorced. You were your dad, etc., etc. I have a copy of your dad's autopsy report. And Jack is just like, you got everything in there, huh? You got anything about my ex-wife? Juliet's like, what do you want to know? And Jack says, is she happy? Juliet says, you know what? She is happy. Which part of me wanted me to be like, part of me wanted Juliet to be like, no, she's very unhappy.
I know, me too.
she's
I wanted her to be miserable.
Her ex died in a plane crash, and she's feeling mixed about it.
Yeah, she doesn't like it.
She doesn't like it.
But I want there to be some real out of nowhere drama. I think is why I want that.
Yeah. Exactly. Because the whole moment does feel like, and it is like, not to get ahead of ourselves, but it is like interspersed. It's related to the flashbacks, kind of.
Yeah, and it exemplifies like a certain amount of growth within Jack.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
And acceptance of situations and stuff. So it does make sense, and it's like, but it is just like that's the line that feeds you the moral at the end of the story.
Exactly.
And I just want them to like burn that down.
I wholly agree. Absolutely, but I also do appreciate the like how like contained that arc is. It does feel like a good like bow on like Jack is mad and now and now as much as his shit sucks, he's moving past being a piss baby.
Totally.
Is
and the only reason
it.
why I like want them to do something that essentially delegitimizes like the storytelling in a sense by just like taking something out of left field.
Yeah.
It's just because they do that later.
They do that. That's
so
just
in my mind, it's already tarnished. But at this point in history, it's still a great show.
They're still pretty good at like making a self-contained arc that has meaning and weight.
Yeah, this was before even Nikki and Paolo. So
Exactly.
they had not flown off the handle just yet.
That's Jack's deal. Juliet leaves and says, "Hi," says, "We did it, Ben," and that's the episode more or less.
Yeah.
But we also see what Kate and Sawyer are up to. So let's talk about Kate.
Kate is which she wakes up in a room.
She wakes up in a shower that's on with her clothes on, and Tom is standing there. Good old Tom. And Tom.
How long was he standing there? Do you think?
Days.
Yeah, yeah.
No blinking, no breathing, just standing there.
The human picture, they call him.
Tom, the human picture, as Kate wakes up, says, "Hey, guess what?" Like Kate wakes up and is like, "What the heck? Where am I?" And Tom's like, "Listen, why don't you just have a shower? Wash the day off. It's fine." And Kate's like, "Listen, I'm not taking a shower while you're watching, Tom." And Tom gives a little, "Oh, Kate, you're not my type." Representation, baby.
Represent.
Tom is a gay icon. You heard it here first, folks.
I wonder how many people have claimed that.
There's me right now. There's any other gay fan of Lost because there's literally no other gay character.
There's
on
one
the show.
gay character.
There's two gay characters. There's Tom and then the boy Tom kisses that one time.
Which is essentially the only thing that like outright indicates that Tom is gay.
Exactly, because this is just like a little like.
It's an illusion. It's a joke.
It's a little jokey.
Yeah.
The only confirmation we get of Tom being gay is that one time he kisses a boy. Other than that, straightest show on this side of the Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I'll take it. I'll take what I can get. I'll take one funny one-liner over. I'm just glad they didn't do like a funny gay. Yeah. I'm glad that they aren't. I've got a friend who's like revisiting like 90s and early aught sitcoms, and the amount of a funny gay in there is like so great.
It's only ever that.
It's only ever that. If a gay person is there, it's like a funny gay.
It's always that. There's nothing wrong with being gay.
Yeah.
Except for
that
we won't associate with you and we'll make fun of it.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like you can see where it's like
except for the icky factor.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing wrong with being gay, except I don't want people thinking I'm gay.
Exactly.
What if people think I'm gay?
There's clearly something wrong.
Yeah. It's like I can see where it's coming from. Like they want to talk about it, and it's it
was a different time.
It was a different time, and before then, I'm sure it was just like
worse.
even more cranked. But like you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's our serious conversation about media for the moment. Let's get back to talking about how Kate steps out of the shower, opens the locker and is like, "Where's my clothes?
Ah!
Where's my clothes?" And then looks at another locker, sees a tape on a locker that says, "Wear this," and it's a dress. Puts the dress on. Tom comes in and says, "Looking great. Let's go." And and they go to the beach where Ben Linus has set up a gazebo, table
This
with
is
like
insane.
a fancy dinner and breakfast. Wildest move. Ben's done a lot of wild moves. This is like
This
top
is
5.
the craziest one.
This is definitely like top 3 wildest moves from Ben.
It would have taken like 4 days to construct that thing.
Yes. Huge gazebo, like fancy ass dinner, coffee.
They had to go through the bushes and shit to get there. And there's a whole meal brought there. So the meal would be cold.
Yeah. And so Kate sits down and Ben's like, "Gonna have to ask you to put these handcuffs on, I'm afraid." And Kate's like, "Hey, what the shit is going on? Why are you putting me in this dress? Why are you feeding me breakfast? This is really cranked."
Mm-hmm.
And Ben's explanation is also cranked. Ben's explanation is like, "I gave you that dress so that you'd feel like a lady." Whack. And I'm feeding you breakfast so that you can eat meal with a fork and a knife and feel civilized for once, because the next 2 weeks they're gonna be very unpleasant. And there's what?
That's it. And then that's like the end of that scene,
That's
too.
that scene.
There's no, nothing big happens in that scene.
Nothing big happens in that scene.
It's just weird.
It's of no consequence. It's just sets up Ben as a weirdo.
Yeah.
Who does this for no reason.
Yeah.
Who just wants to so there's a moment in this scene where Ben's like, "Put these handcuffs on, please." And Kate puts them on, and then Ben's like, "Tighter, please." And Kate's like, "Well, what if I don't?" And Ben says, "Well then, you don't get any coffee." So it's clearly just a mind fuck thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's clearly just she's just trying to fuck with Kate a bit.
It's weird. I don't like it.
It feels like Bond supervillain shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's really I know Ben is more or less the antagonist,
Mm-hmm.
but it feels very odd.
It just feels frivolous and of little consequence.
Yeah, exactly. So that's Kate's plot, more or less.
Yeah. And then she goes to a cage.
He goes to a cage where Sawyer is. Let's catch up with Sawyer, our protagonist. Sawyer wakes up in these cages, and who's in the other cage but a boy named Carl.
Oh, Carl.
Sawyer's shouting at Carl, being like, "Hey, who are you? What is this? What's happening?" Carl is unresponsive. Also, Sawyer is in a cage that has a bunch of mechanisms in it. There's a button, there's a lever, there's a pedal, there's all these weird things in his cage. And he's kind of presses one and then presses another, and he's like, "What the heck's going on?" Presses 1 3 times and gets electrocuted.
Mm-hmm.
And Carl is kind of shouting at him, "You're doing it wrong." And Sawyer's like, "Shut up, idiot."
What do you want, Carl?
What do you want, Carl? So while Sawyer's trying to figure this out, Carl starts opening up and being like, how far away is your camp? Are the people there nice? And Sawyer's just kind of like, "Well, there's a torturer, so it could be better." And then Sawyer kind of turns around and suddenly the door's open somehow. The door's wide open, and Sawyer's like, "What?" And then Carl just shoots up out of nowhere and opens the door. And
Sawyer, you're coming with me.
Sawyer, go that way. Run.
We escape now.
We're escaping now. And Sawyer's like, "All right, fuck it. I'm out of here." Sawyer goes running through the jungle. And who does Sawyer run into?
Juliet.
Juliet walks up.
Wife.
Juliet walks up, says, "Hey." Sawyer's just kind of stunned. And then
Sawyer's stunned.
And then really stunned because Juliet pulls out a taser gun and shoots Sawyer in the neck. They get married.
They get married later, yeah.
Those two people get married, and that's the first time they meet.
Yeah, it's cute.
It's a hell of a meet cute, is
this
what I'm
is
saying.
a great rom-com.
Lost is the ultimate rom-com.
I want someone to do a supercut of Lost where it's only scenes with Sawyer in them.
Yeah.
Just the whole series.
It's just he's unlucky in love.
Yeah.
And then Juliet tases him, and it's oh, boy. Sawyer will never understand women.
And then 2 hours later, they are married.
They're married.
In the past.
They're married in the past, and it's great.
I would watch that show.
That's a great...
I do watch that
you
show.
Do, in fact, you do watch that show once a week with me.
That is the show Lost.
That is the show Lost. The show Lost is one of the many facets of the show Lost is romance.
Yes.
is funny romance. Honestly, love makes fools of us all. I'm just gonna say that.
Shakespeare, is that you?
That's me, Billy Shake, and I'm
Billy
here to say.
Shake.
And I'm here to say.
That's his DJ name?
That's his
Or his MC name?
That's his street artist name. That's his Banksy. It's his nom de plume. So Sawyer gets locked back up, solves the lever puzzle, and he's like, "Yeah, I did it! Fuck yeah!" And then
that is what he's like. That's good.
That's exactly what he's like.
Yeah.
And out comes fish biscuit, a biscuit shaped like a fish, bunch of weird nuts, and then some water comes out of
Fish
the pipe.
Biscuit sounds like a band that would headline Murder Water.
Fish Biscuit would headline Murder Water. Oh my god. Did you see Fish Biscuit at Murder Water? Win 14, 15?
Yeah.
Oh no. Murder Water 09 was the rough one.
Yeah.
We don't talk about Murder Water 09.
We don't. A lot of people got murdered.
A lot of people got murdered, more than usual.
Yeah. More than even I was comfortable with.
Yeah. As a criminal.
Yeah.
As a criminal who attends the murder festival of Murder Water.
Fish Biscuit, though. That was a great set.
Tom brings Kate into the cage, and Tom kind of looks at Sawyer and is like, "Hey, you got a biscuit.
Figured it out.
Good for you," and then leaves.
Yeah.
and then Sawyer and Kate kind of have like
sup.
They're like,
sup.
how are you doing? And they're like, well, this is pretty cranked, huh? And
Guess
that's
we'll
it.
look longingly at each other for a couple episodes.
And that's the island stuff.
That's the island stuff. Yeah.
It really is wholly and entirely.
It's really contained.
It's really
in a couple
contained.
cages.
It's very. I like it a lot. As much as it is like we obviously know what happens. The like dinner scene is cranked because it has no. I keep saying cranked today. You have a guru and a whiskey sour, and you just start saying cranked all the time.
I think you are cranked.
I might be cranked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very self-contained, like we were saying.
It makes it simpler, and I like it more.
I agree because it gives them time to really just like focus on these characters and where they're at, what they're doing, set things up. Even though we know what's going to happen, it was still a like front to back pretty solid episode. I think.
Totally.
Except there's one more part of the episode that we haven't talked about.
Flashbacks with
flashback.
Jax.
Jackbacks.
Flashbacks.
Flashjacks.
Dr. Jack Shepard. And his wife.
Yes.
They are having problems.
Jack is stalking his wife at a school and sees a man with him, and Jack is like, fuck. Next scene is Jack at a divorce lawyer's office with Sarah and being like, please give me one more chance. Take me back.
And she's like, no. And then he's like, who is he?
I
gotta know who he is.
What's his name?
What's he do?
And
I need to know.
And Sarah's just like, bye. Goodbye. So then next scene is Jack in his doctor's
work.
Jack goes to work in his doctor's office
with his dad,
and he's like just on the phone, like calling a bunch of numbers.
Oh yeah, he's calling everyone from her contact list
and being like, "Hey, I found this person's cell phone, and I'm just trying to like get in touch with them. Oh no, well, I'm sorry about that." And Jack's dad comes in, and Jack's dad is just like, "Hey, what are you doing? Is this all of Sarah's phone numbers? Hey, you're being you gotta
this
really...
is a bit much, bud.
This is a bit much." And Jack dials one of the numbers, and guess what? Jack's dad's cell phone rings.
It's Jack's dad's number.
It's Jack's dad's number, and Jack is immediately like, "Why is she calling you?" And Christian is immediately just like, "She was concerned about you. We've been talking because we're worried about how you're slipping and how you're becoming obsessive." And Jack is just like,
no.
And Jack is just like, "You're a drunk, Dad.
Yeah.
What do you know about being obsessive?" And like, "Oh, you mean like, isn't that the deal? Isn't that the deal with being a drunk?" I want
being one track and like letting things consume you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. An alcoholic would know nothing about that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give a shout out to, I think his name is John Terry.
Is that the dad?
That's the dad's actor's name.
Good.
He's great. We get a lot of him in this episode.
Yeah.
And he's a really fantastic like character actor.
He's cool. Yeah.
He really nails this like just like well-meaning dad who's kind of shitty.
Yeah.
And in this episode, he's like clearly in the right, but like there's something about him that just like really like very expressive, very just like when Jack is like going off, you can see like just like all this like hurt and like regret in Christian Shepherd's eyes and shit. it's just like I just think he's a really underrated actor on
I
the
hurt
show.
myself today to see if I regret.
So my favorite part of this scene is when Christian Shepherd pulls out a guitar and begins singing "Hurt" by Johnny Cash.
It was weird, but it worked.
It worked, and he said, listen, I'm hoping to get into the next year's Murder Fest. I'm hoping to headline. Maybe not headline, but
they have this venue with a murder water door.
Oh my god, I can't wait. Love a door.
I figured the song "Hurt" will go over well.
It'll go over great at Murder Water. God, did I call it Murder Fest? That's not what it is.
You did, but I like that too.
I like it too.
I believe that 60-year-old dad would call it Murder Fest. He's like, is that what the kids are into these days?
Oh,
Murder Fest?
You going to your Murder Fest? Oh, it's all noise to me.
Yeah, I don't understand the kids in Murder Fest.
I like slow instrumental jazz played on a gramophone and nothing else.
Oh. I like that.
I mean, I like it too, but I like other things also.
I think
like murder.
It's not just slow instrumental jazz though, because he's got a swing thing too.
Yeah, you gotta have
some fast instrumental jazz.
Listen, if it doesn't mean a thing if it hasn't got that swing.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just them's just the facts.
Are you giving your opinion on playgrounds right now?
yeah. If a playground has no swings, it is meaningless.
Yeah. It's knock it over, build a parking lot.
Waste of my time.
Waste of space.
Waste of space and time. The two things you can waste the most of with a park. And frankly, I've had it up to here. So, next scene is Jack is doing a surgery. And the nurse is like, hello, Jack, Sir Jack. But Jack's mind is elsewhere because Jack sees that Christian is answering his cell phone.
Yeah.
Answers his cell phone.
And smiles.
And Jack is immediately like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. He
leaves mid-surgery.
Jack is a bad guy.
Jack is a real shithead in these flashbacks. And I appreciate how, because it does provide at least, you get that moment at the end where he's like, oh, okay, I got to get over my stubborn bullshit, because in the past, I was really fucking toxic.
Yeah.
So it does give that some weight. But boy, oh boy, does he go off the deep end in this particular scene.
He follows his dad to a hotel, which is where affairs happen. And then he goes into, he follows his dad into, this weird small conference room. And it is an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting.
Yes.
And then he berates his dad. He says, you're fucking my wife. And then his dad is like, Jack, you've gone insane. And then he's like, you're a drunk. And then he, the AA, person, not supervisor, but, moderator or whatever, is like, Jack, your dad's 59 days sober, and we're so proud of him for that. Why don't you sit down? And he just yells at her. He's like, he downed a bottle of scotch every day before supper. And it's like, yeah, you're at an AA meeting.
Yeah. There is so much to unpack about how, so I can understand. I think this scene maybe goes a little too far. As gripping as it is, I find it hard to believe that Jack wouldn't walk into a thing and look around and be like, oh, I'm in an AA meeting. Oh, I've crossed a line.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to re-examine my priorities. Instead, he tells this AA meeting that his dad is an alcoholic. Yes, of course.
Surprise, surprise.
And then accuses him of home wrecking, and then attacks him.
He fights him. He fights his dad.
He fully fights his dad, and his dad is just like, son, you're being so out of line here. This is beyond, his dad is being nothing but reasonable.
Yeah.
Next scene is Jack in jail for assault.
Jack is in jail, yeah.
But someone paid for his bail. Guess what? And guess who?
It's his ex-wife.
It's his ex-wife. His ex-wife is
his soon-to-be ex-wife.
Soon-to-be ex-wife. And she's like, all right, I paid your bail. Bye.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Leaves. But Jack follows her and says, is that him by the car? Who is he? I need a name. And Sarah's like, oh my fucking God, dude. Are you serious right now?
Goodbye, Jack.
Says goodbye. Says two things of significance in this scene. Says one, your dad confirms your dad was contacting me because he was concerned about you. And when he called me about this, he was so drunk that I couldn't understand him.
Yeah.
So Jack drove his dad back to alcohol. Great.
Which would kill him soon.
Which is going to kill him. We know that it kills him eventually. So great move, Jack. Second of all, when Jack says, I just got to know who he is, Sarah delivers the dagger, which is, doesn't matter who he is, it just matters who you're not.
Boom.
And that's the Jack flashbacks.
Yeah, it's crazy. He is an asshole.
He is a complete irredeemable shithead. And to be honest, I liked to see it.
I love it. Oh, yeah. I don't think very highly of Jack as a person.
Mm-hmm. I really don't. And
he's not a good hero.
I generally don't think he's like even like an interesting hero.
Yeah.
Really. Like there's way more like I wouldn't even put him in my like top like 5 most interesting characters.
Yeah.
Maybe not even top 10.
Yeah.
But
because
like,
he's not interesting. He's the most generic person on the show.
He's so exactly. But
I don't know what his interests are, actually.
Exactly.
I don't know a hobby that he has.
His interests are ruining his relationship with his dad, apparently.
And being a doctor and taking charge.
Yeah, that's not like enough to really hinge a character on.
Yeah, that's not a personality.
And so I feel like these flashbacks, and this one included, always kind of have this problem of like, well, how do we flesh this guy out? And they just kind of like default into just making him an asshole.
And I like it. I'm into it.
It's fun to watch, and I don't think it's necessarily like the most compelling stuff, but it is like pretty fun to watch on a standalone thing. I think there's too many Jack episodes for sure, but this one was all right. I think.
I'm excited to see more.
I'm excited to see more. So before we roll for our next episode, I have a new segment that I want to try. Alert, it's new segment time.
I'm excited. I do not know what the segment is, and I have been looking forward to finding out.
Well, guess what? Here it comes, and while it loads on my phone, I'll tell y'all what it is. So I've mentioned in the past this website, Lostpedia, lostpedia.wikia.com these days, and what it is more or less is like it's a lost wiki more or less. It was very active back in the day. I don't know how active it is these days, but it is still
probably
there.
Surprisingly.
Probably like pretty active still, but like
not what it once was.
I remember like after an episode aired, like seeing like articles get assembled as they like happened, as like new information was revealed. People were like, "Well, turns out Ben was this and this and this," for instance.
Wow.
It was a time. And I'm sure, so like like there's obviously not much new information about Lost these days, but you know. Anyways, my point is, in the HKIPGT Discord, a fellow by the name of Sam posted this link about Lost, which is a link to Lostpedia page called Questions and Answers.
Oh yeah.
What it is it goes episode by episode, looks at aims to look at every question posed in that episode, and provide the answer that gets provided eventually.
Okay.
So what I was hoping to do is because listen, you and I, we're more or less halfway through this. We're halfway through this, and at this point, I think we have a relatively clear picture of the whole of Lost.
Yeah, I know what happens.
So I think this would be a fun way to test each other's knowledge of Lost, and B, a fun way to see some crazy shit that people wrote about Lost in earnest.
I'm excited. Let's hear it.
Let me hit you with the first one. Let me hit you with the first one. Why does Juliet appear troubled in the opening moments? Why is that?
Because they don't like her book?
That is a great answer, but the answer is she is distressed over having learned of Ben's tumor the day before and what this may mean about whether Ben cured her sister Rachel's cancer.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep it going.
There's one that's how did Juliet come to be an other on the island? Of course, this is
she was tricked.
She was tricked. The whole story is we know the story. How did Ben come to be the leader of the others on the island?
Oh, I have no idea. He was adopted into them, and then did he just like take the reins and murder?
Oh my God, this one is way longer than I thought it would. Do you want me to just go in on this one? Because seeing it laid out like this really paints a picture.
I want to hear it. Yeah.
While he initially claims to have been born on the island, this is later revealed to have been a lie. He was in fact born in the United States, and later at the age of 8, joined his father in recruitment to the Dharma Initiative. After repeated abuse from his father, Ben wanted to escape and join the hostels, and was eyed by Richard for his sign of being special. Several years later, Ben was gravely shot. Richard took him into the temple to be healed, in a process which changed him spiritually, making him another. Jacob favored Ben to take this process, threatening Widmore for leadership and eventually usurping that position from him.
Whitmore was the leader before that?
Yes!
I didn't know that.
Lots to unpack in that whole
That's
paragraph.
crazy. Cool.
There's a lot. They do a good job of making it... No, it does still seem quite cranked. What is the purpose of the Hydra station? Where is the Hydra? What is... Here's a fun one. Was the intercom in Jack's cell working, or was he hallucinating?
It was working.
It was. While he was probably hallucinating Christian's voice, the intercom is indeed working and being used by the others to toy with Jack's mental state.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Why was Carl being held in a cage?
For dating Ben's daughter?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Ben didn't want him to pursue a relationship with Alex and get her pregnant.
Ben is and get her pregnant.
Yep.
Ben is a bad man.
Ben is not a good one. Okay, this one definitely goes in. Let me find some highlights. Wow, it's so much. So, I'll there's 3 that I want to highlight.
Uh-huh.
Why did Ben leave Juliet to be killed by Jack? Which I don't think we mentioned. In the scene where the flooding happens, Ben leaves and then slams the door behind him, leaving Juliet behind.
I imagine.
So why does Ben do that?
I imagine to make Jack trust Juliet more, and believe that she is not. She's more on his side. She has something against Ben too.
That's exactly right. Ben wants to manipulate a romantic connection between Jack and Juliet.
Wow.
Due to her resemblance to Sarah for him to exploit.
Wow.
Little does he suspect, however, that he is succeeding in making a real bond between them against him. So
Wow.
Ben is trying to play 7-dimensional chess and played it too good.
Yeah.
Because it ended up just seeing it all laid out just makes you really just see the full crankness.
Yeah, just how big the scope is of this show.
It's completely, and it becomes clear how just unwieldy it is. As soon as you take it in as a whole, it's just beyond wacky.
Yeah.
How did the others gain a file on Jack's personal information and others in his life?
I have no idea.
Well, you see, it seems they are able to access files on the survivors through the Flame, which we haven't seen yet. They are also, quote, very thorough in getting off-island others to dig up dirt on individuals of choice. Information not normally established, even to law enforcement. That's not an answer.
How?
That's not an answer.
That is not an answer. How do they do this thing? Well, they do.
Well, they do it. What they do is they do it.
Yeah.
The way they do it is they do it.
Well, they're off the island, you see.
So here's my absolute favorite one. Why were Kate's wrists cut up by the handcuffs?
Because she was made to tighten them very tight.
The answer is ambiguous.
Oh my god.
Not a relevant question.
Don't ask the question if you can't answer.
Not even a question that I was considering.
No.
And also no answer to it. Perfect. Thank you,
That's
Lostpedia.
gross.
Valuable resource. So that's
I like it. That's fun.
I think that's a fun thing to do.
I like that it's so clearly people are proposing these themselves in a sense.
Exactly. You can see some of it is Juliet's some of it is as weird as it is oh yeah, that tracks.
This is yeah.
And some of it is just we are stretching to
make
this work.
It's what 16-year-old is at their computer right now in 2008?
Probably me.
Yeah.
Probably literally me.
I asked all of these questions.
I asked all these questions and there weren't answers, so I had to come up with them.
Yeah.
Maybe we could alternate doing that every week.
Totally.
Next week you could read
I wanna look at it beforehand and I'll see if there's some crazy ones.
Yes, absolutely. And some episodes have more than others. This one had a lot. Some of them only had 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So that sometimes it'll be longer, sometimes it'll be shorter. Hey, viewers at home, let us know what you think of that. Maybe it's a good, maybe it's a bad, maybe it's the best you ever had.
Do you like the trivia?
Do you love trivia? I love trivia. I love to ask questions, and we also have to come up with a cool, pithy name for that segment.
Oh, yeah. Too. Maybe a song.
Maybe a fun song that we could sing to each other for that segment.
Well, that was good.
That was good.
What do you say we watch another episode?
I would love to watch one more episode of this damn-ass show.
I want to watch 61 more episodes.
So speaking of that, so we normally roll 121, 1 to 121 is what we normally roll. But with this roll will be our 61st roll. And with that, we'll have crossed into half. We'll have less than half of lost left, which is a big milestone. Congratulations to us, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Congratulations to you.
So I think what I'm going to do is, before we record next week's episode, I'm going to truncate our list down to 60.
Yeah.
And we'll roll 1 to 60 to prevent repeats.
That makes sense. So we don't just keep returning to the same ones. You can assign a numeric value too.
That's exactly
that
it.
Makes perfect sense.
And I think what we'll do is we'll do that every time we cross half. So it'll be 60, then 30, then 15, then 7.
That's great.
I love
that. That's a good idea.
It's a good idea, I think.
Anyways. So for one last time, I'll do 1 to 121.
Yes, on random.org, of course.
Our favorite.
Our favorite, most wasteful resource.
I got 49.
49. I'm almost positive. Yes, we've seen that one.
All right.
That's why we got to truncate it.
3.
3 we haven't seen. 3 is the 3rd episode of the show. Tabula Rasa, and it's a Kate episode.
I'm stoked.
I'm positively
I bet it's
stoked.
the first Kate episode.
I don't think so.
Really?
Oh, no, like chronologically, it is the first Kate episode.
We know there's murder in that heart.
Yeah, of course, we know there's murder in that heart. All right, so the wrap up. You can follow us on Facebook.com/The Island Shuffle. You can follow us on Twitter @Island Shuffle. If you like what you hear, please leave us a review on iTunes. I'm told it helps us with something or other. I don't know how iTunes works anymore.
It will get us popular.
If by any chance you're still using iTunes somehow, please do leave us a review.
By some stroke of luck.
Yes. You can follow me at Twitter @Barrier Trio. You can follow James at James Brown. We are on the Noise Space roster, noisepace.xyz, a podcast network that my internet friend Matt basically said to any of his friends who want to make a podcast, hey, I'll host you for free.
Which is awesome.
Which is very kind of him.
Yeah, it's cool.
We appreciate that he's gotten us this far. And there's a ton of other great podcasts on this network, roster, incubator, whatever you want to call it. There's, of course, Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die, which is a leftist podcast where a rotating cast of bozos scream about the state of things. Great dose of weekly catharsis for you. There's City Girls Make Do, a weekly Sex and the City podcast. There's Giants Confirmed, They Might Be Giants podcast. Guess what? There's a new podcast, too. There's a whole new podcast.
What have we got?
It's called My Pod Cabbages, and it's an Avatar The Last Airbender podcast.
Oh, cool. I want to listen to that.
And it's hosted by a married couple, which is very wholesome.
I like that show.
The show is good, and the podcast is also good.
Cool.
There's never been a better time to be listening to noisepace.xyz, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. That is all of the bits, isn't it?
I think so.
That's all the deeds. Oh, also check out James Brown's website at jamesbrown.space.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to keep up with all his to-dos, his goings-ons, and what have yous.
jamesbrown.space.
Ah, boy. I think that's it. That's everything.
Thank you.
Feels good to be back, I'll tell you what.
Good to be back on that horse.
Love to be back on the horse and carrying the gun of a microphone.
What do you say we point the old gun at the head of the horse and say what we always say?
We always say this, and what
the
we
horse.
say to the horse with a gun is...